Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photo chats. So today we'll talk about when things go wrong. I was at a dodgeball event. The school I teach at was having a dodgeball event for the end of a quarter event. And I'm, of course, going to take photos. I brought a 105 2.8 macro lens because I was just going to use it as a 105. And I'm like, this would be perfect for shooting the action. This will be perfect for, I know from my experience as a sports photographer shooting basketball, an 85 on the sidelines or on the end is a really good place you want to be. But I'm like, well, I won't bring the 85. I'll bring a 105, and I'll just, where do I sit? I better sit mid-court on the first bleacher so I can shoot both sides and have them throwing at each other. Every time you start a sports shoot, you have to figure out, where am I going to start? Where am I going to sit? Where am I going to be? So I used my Nikon D610, the workhorse, the one I've been carrying everywhere, the one with a big eye cup that doesn't scratch my glasses. It's perfect. And I was shooting along, 500th of a second. And then something happened. It was like, I had a weird line across the picture. I'm like, huh. And then it was shooting and shooting. And then another weird, it looked like a diagonal, it looked like a camera strap blocking the viewfinder, but it wasn't, there was no camera strap blocking the viewfinder. And then it said error. It still shutters. It still shutters, but it says error. It just says error. And I've tried, there's like two buttons that have a green dot. They say push those two together and reset the camera. That does nothing. I've tried taking out the batteries for a long time or for a short time. I've tried pulling the cards. I've tried doing everything I can. And sometimes things go wrong. The very end of the match, when the teachers were against the students, I have a few photos of them, but I don't have the win because at that point the camera was done. There's a lesson to this. Never just have one camera. And I never do, if it was a professional shoot, I never would just take one camera. But it was one of those things where I take a camera every day to school and I always take one camera. Now, on that day, I ended up with a camera that stopped working. And that is never a good feeling. I did a check on the shutter count and the shutter has been actuated 142,000 times. And it has an estimated life of 150,000. So I guess it's right at the end of its life. And I know I've used it a ton. It's definitely not a camera that's not been used and used and used over and over. But it's still down, and I'm kind of sad to have lost it because I don't know that it's worth repairing. I don't know if it's worth the cost of a new shutter when I probably can find a body with 10, 20, 30,000 actuations for a couple $100 since it's older. But sometimes things will go wrong. In a working situation, there's never a time when I don't have two cameras. I usually have three. But the point is, when you're working, you're being paid. Of course, you have all the support you need to make sure you can't miss a shot. And in that situation, I would just simply switch cameras, pop on a different lens on a different camera, and back ready to go. But on that day, things went wrong. I lost the camera, and now we talked about the D700, I might push that up to the carry-around camera for a while and just use that. 12 megapixels is probably plenty fine for most street, most documentary stuff I do at school. And I don't need to replace it at the moment, but there is a part of me that's looking, are there any D610s out there for an inexpensive cost that I could pick up to just put this one right back into use. I have the batteries and battery chargers and all that stuff. But sometimes things will go wrong, and when you reach the end of your shutter life, which I think is what the problem is, that's what you deal with. If anybody knows what I can do to get that error to stop blinking and to turn the camera back on, the menu button lights everything up. There's no reset to beginning allowed because it says under reset, it's grayed out, like it won't let me do it. There's no way to do a mirror lockup to clean the sensor because that's grayed out. Nothing is giving me anything that gives me a menu item that says, use that to try to get it to reset. I just can't do anything. So sometimes you just lose. But it's been a great camera, and we'll see if I can find a replacement, or maybe I'll just stick with that D700. All right, that's Ace Photography Talk. I'll put a link to the dodgeball photos in the show notes. Take a look. It's a fun thing to shoot. All right, that's Ace Photography Talk. Hey, if you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support it, the Patreon. Thanks to all my supporters. I appreciate you. I'll be back next week. We'll talk more photography. As always, here's the good light.